Excerpt from The Mystery on the California Mission Trail by Carol Marsh. During the drive to Mission La Purisma, which was near where John and his family had lived, John described the California missions. The central focus of each mission is the church, he explained. The missions were founded to instruct the early inhabitants of the land in the Catholic faith. The California Indians were to become neophytes, newly Baptist Catholics, to learn Spanish and to work at the missions. Building missions was a way to get new citizens and land for Spain. Missionaries and soldiers traveled together, so both a mission and a presidio or fort were built. John continued. They had a hard time as they made their way into California. They got lost, they died from scurvy and other diseases because they lacked healthy food, and they suffered bad weather, heat, and exhaustion. In fact, many times, two expeditions were sent to the same place, one by land and one by sea. That way, if one group got lost or perished, which was fairly likely back then, there was still a chance the other group would make it. Did the Indians like the new missions? Christina asked. At first, the Indians did not know what to make of the strangers, John said. They wandered around the new mission, often stealing whatever they could carry. Father Junipero Serra, who helped found the first missions, believed the mission should continue to try to make friends with the Indians, but the soldiers did not. The soldiers killed many Indians. Eventually, the mission and the presidio were separated to keep them from killing the Indians. But after Indians attacked the unprotected mission, the mission moved back to the safety of the presidio. The same pattern was repeated at other missions. When they pulled up at Mission La Purisma, Grant and Christina stared wide-eyed out the navigator's windows. All around them were gardens and orchards and animals and people who looked as if they were transported out of a scene from hundreds of years ago. In the middle of all this activity stood a long adobe church covered in red clay roof tiles. A few small arched windows dotted the side of the building. A taller section of wall on one end had three openings where three bells should have hung. Across topped the roof above the empty bell alcoves. Mimi laughed at the kids' astonished expressions and said, "Get out and explore, you two. See what California mission life was like 200 years ago." Christina and Grant slid out of the vehicle. As soon as they landed on the ground, two dark-haired girls waved and ran up to them. "Hi, Christina. Hi, Grant," the girls said together. "I'm Maria, and this is my sister Clara," said the slightly taller girl. "Maria and Clara are excited to have visitors," said John. "We don't get too many kids here that stay for more than one day to visit, do we?" he asked, looking fondly at his daughters. Each girl smiled and shook her head at their dad, then turned back to Christine and Grant. "Do you want to meet the docents?" asked Clara. "They're the people in costume," explained Maria. "We can watch them spin and weave wool and make candles. Grant, you'd like to see this blacksmith shop, I'll bet," she added. Grant and Christina turned and looked at Mimi, who gave them a little nod. "Sure," Christina said, and they all four turned and jogged across the field. Suddenly Grant turned back and ran to the car. He leaned into the back seat and grabbed the red backpack that Uncle Michael had given him. He hooked the straps across his shoulders and ran back to catch up with the girls. Maria chattered nonstop, and Clara nodded her head vigorously as they took Christina and Grant on a tour of the mission. "This is the most completely restored mission in California," said Maria. "After the earthquake of 1812, not a single building was standing, but the California Conservation Corps built it back just like the original, and now it's a state park. Our dad is a ranger here, and we live in a casa right across the street," Clara said proudly. Grant and Christina explored the mission with Maria and Clara as their own personal tour guides for the rest of the afternoon. Think about it. What did Grant and Christina see when they first arrived at Mission La Purisma? What are docents? How can they help visitors learn about life in the past? Why do you think the author has John describe the purpose and history of the missions?